have natural gas topping that list at negative 5.01%. We have ethanol at 0.05%. We have heating oil at negative 0.37%. Let's now take a look at other commodities, and let's look at industrial metals. Topping the list, we have aluminium at negative 1.32%. We have lead also on that list at positive 6.31%. We have iron ore at negative 1.19%. Let's take a look now at another commodity, that's the agriculture, and on that list we have cotton. Topping that list there is cotton at negative 0.28%. We have oats also on the list at negative 3.47%. We have lumber at 0.57% positive. Let's take a look now at the currency market. The Naira weakened against the dollar on Friday, January 12, 2024 at both official and black markets. This represents a 15.75 Naira depreciation compared to its closing on Thursday, and 60 Naira to a dollar. Analysts attribute the Naira's weakness to a combination of factors, including increased demand for the hard currency and continued concerns about Nigeria's oil production and global economic uncertainties. We'll take a short break. We'll come back for the interview segment where we'll be assessing the global oil market today. Stay tuned.
Hello there. Worried about complexities and dynamics of business in Nigeria? On Business Focus, we bring you insight from the forefront of industry innovation, business news, latest figures from the stock market with in-depth analysis and the market survey. Let's journey through the ever-evolving world of business and economics, where we decode the latest market moves and provide you with the knowledge to navigate the intricate web of business challenges. This is Business Focus.
Welcome back. We are on to Business Focus, and we are discussing the global oil market as at today. And to discuss this, I have a development expert by name Ben Aguloyi. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Business Focus.
Good morning.
It's nice to have you here. So we're going to start with exactly what do you think of the situation at the Red Sea with the war going on and attacks on cargo ships at the Red Sea? What's your assessment of the situation?
Well, that's obviously a sad development, because you will look at the importance of the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, obviously, to cargo shipment between the East, which is Asia, and the West, that's Europe. Now, you will realize that when you bypass the Suez Canal, you possibly have to take a detour from Ethiopia to go down to run through South Africa. So that gives you like about 2 weeks, minimum of 2 weeks delay in every shipment. Now, that is for non-oil. Okay. For majority of the oil vessels, particularly from Saudi Arabia, they need to exit through the Red Sea. So you would realize that any disturbance in the Red Sea would affect commerce between Asia and Europe, and of course should affect the oil industry to a large extent because of the major role that you have Saudi Arabia and the UAE, who are on that stretch, playing to the world oil market.
So Saudi Arabia and UAE are obviously the largest producers of crude oil.
Yeah.
With the development, how have they been able to cope?
Well, have they been able to cope? We really can't say that. Everybody is making adjustment. The US is coming in. It's not new, but had only increased because the Houthis, of course, as we would know them, they are Yemen-based. They've been able to force the Yemen government on exile at some point. Okay. So the government had had to run from Saudi Arabia. So the Houthis are known to be a standby enemy of the Saudi interest. We also know that they are partners, so to say, or they are in a clique with Hamas and Hezbollah as Iran-backed separatist fighter. Let's put them at that. The West will call them terrorist organization. Okay. But they will see themselves possibly as fighting for certain measure of principle or right. So what you've had is for the US, the UK, and their allies to step up their potential in the Gulf to see how well they can whittle down the attacks and the damages that the Houthis are able to cause. Okay. But the reality is that you can see the fluctuation. True. The price will go up suddenly 1.1%, 1%. Of course, you also have different issues around the globe, and there are alternative sources. But the reality is that any disturbance on the Red Sea will automatically affect Saudi Arabia.
Okay, now let's take it a notch and talk about the whole of the world. That's all the crude producing countries. How have they been able to cope since the beginning of or since the beginning of the war?
Well, oil production is not just also something, it's not word of mouth. You cannot step up production overnight. Okay. So you expect that there will be supply pressure, right? There will be supply pressure, there will be panic, and that is being seen across the globe. You also know that projection and prices will follow that trend. Now, if the situation is not abated, you expect a much higher price of oil in the course of the year. And of course, to the rest of commerce as well. If you have issues with supplies, if you cannot move what you have produced, the chances are that your warehouse are filled and you actually cannot produce more. But you also know that for fuel alone, maybe a lot of countries are sourcing alternatives. You're looking at alternative sources of energy. You're looking at maybe a few other things that you can do. So it then means, therefore, that if Saudi cannot meet his supply quota, if vessels cannot go safely through the Red Sea Suez Canal corridor, then demand from other sources will definitely go a little higher, and then you expect some measure of shift in the price. But whatever the shift will be is going to be an upward. The price will go northward, not southward.
True. So now, Mr. Agule, I would like to ask you, what are some notable developments since the start of the war in October? That's in the oil market segment.
Yeah, it's not been, of course, you've had some few times of drop, but there have also been more of the times of increase. Okay. Israel, who is directly involved, is now an oil-producing nation. Gaza is not an oil-rich zone, but because of their influence on the neighbors, we of course know that when any crisis in the Middle East, Iran is a major player. And Iran has been doing all they can to support the different groups that are perhaps loyal to their cause against Israel. We also know that the U.S. and its allies have also gone around the zone doing all they can also to build up support. So what you would have noticed is that it's still been more of price fluctuation. It's not a continuous increase. The price go up and then it comes down, right? But then we can say it's been more on the upside than on the downside. And that is because there is a disruption in supplies.
Sure. Mr. Aguloi, so I would like to ask, was the attack by the U.S. and the U.K., was it expected?
Yes, if we say the Red Sea, I feel that across the world, one of the places that have been least underreported in terms of the happenings will possibly be around the Red Sea.
Okay.
The Houthis have been at continuous civil war in Yemen since 2014. But until the last attack, which they felt came up as a result of the involvement of Israel in Gaza, nobody really gave them serious attention. But we know, however, that from 1975 till now, U.S. and its ally have always make effort to protect and secure the Red Sea. Because like we said, it's a major gateway. I think between 12 and 15% of global sea freight happens through that gate.
Okay.
So if they do 12 to 15% of global activity, then you know that the impact. Now the Red Sea is not big, not as big when we are talking about the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. Those are giant, but if with all those giant water body, if that small canal carries 12 to 15%, then you know that it's a place of serious interest. And so it is not unexpected, therefore, that if the Houthis that are known to be tied to the Shia in Iran makes any move, you expect the U.S. and its ally in that region to attack. So their attack is not a surprise. It is actually very, very expected.
Okay, so following that particular attack, would you say that would escalate the situation at the Red Sea, or it would in a way regulate it?
Well, we cannot, well, let's hope that their claims are right. If their claims of having destroyed the launch base for the Houthis in Yemen is correct, and if they are able to cut off further supply of ammunition, of missiles from Iran to Yemen, that's to the Houthis' hand, then you expect that that should forestall the situation. And then, so that to an extent, attacking what they have should be good for the result. But if they are not able to cut off their supply, which we know the Hezbollah will support them, right? Iran, whether directly or indirectly, for reasons of international permissions, Iran is denying aiding the Houthis. But the reality will be that they are not producing on their own.
Okay.
And so if that environment is well monitored, apart from Iran, I wonder where they will get supply. So if they don't get supply and what they have is destroyed, then you expect that some measure of relative calm, relative, is expected.
Okay, so now, Mr. Agule, I would like to know, looking forward to the fact that a lot of cargo ships have stopped moving through the Red Sea, and there would be the possibility of going through Africa. Can you paint us a picture of how that would be eventually?
No, it's a simple thing. Any cargo from Asia that is not going through the Red Sea have no choice but to go down South Africa.
Okay.
So you're going to pass through close to South Africa and of course navigate back up north. So the idea therefore is that there will be an increase of traffic in the Indian Ocean through the Atlantic going into Europe. You expect that there will be more traffic now in that regard. And with that, you expect that the impact on Europe is that their cargo deliveries will now be delayed by at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
That is, if everything goes normal on the sea, that detour will add minimum of 2 weeks to their journey. And of course, coming through the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean will begin to also bring in insurance concern. So you expect that insurance fees, right, will go up, whether you are passing through the Red Sea because of the risk of an attack, or you are going through the long haul where you have not always gone through, where you are not sure of, the uncertainty levels increases. So either way, insurance prices on freight will go up, and that will result in a general increase in price, and that can become a source of some measure of inflation, even in Europe.
From the picture you painted, it sounded like it would be a longer trip because you added 2 weeks
yeah.
to minimum of 2 weeks actually to the trip. How would that also affect the prices of oil when it reaches the common man?
Yeah, for that, like we have said, that of course is more of a direct impact on you. It's not what you buy today and is delivered today. Some delivery timeline are 2 months and 3 months. So they could properly and appropriately adjust in waiting for those things. But we do know that it will affect the price. Now the benefit also that should have come for it, perhaps for the African nation, if you are shipping from Nigeria or from Angola, you are likely going to have not needed the 2 weeks detour. The shipment can get quicker to Europe if you are buying from the Atlantic coast, the Atlantic Ocean coast in Africa. So what we should expect therefore is, if our productions are right, you expect that some of the European nations should increase their import of petroleum from Africa until they are able to resolve or have better control over the situation around the Red Sea and the Suez Canal.
So what you just mentioned is Nigeria should be on her feet to actually produce more of the crude oil.
Yeah.
So how can the federal government go about that? Because this is an opportunity to shoot and actually gain a better GDP.
Yeah, it is that you're monitoring the situation. The flow stations are there. You only need to improve. We've always been told that the biggest challenge is security, which maybe the oil theft situation is getting better. We believe that the private security guard is working. The military should be able to do well. The police, marine are there. And any other guards, coastal guard, whatever the nation can bring up, if we ensure security in the sector, then the production can continue to go on. It is not that the capacity to produce is not there, but it is that what the security to maintain them and then to ensure that what is even produced, right, is not being taken away in the wrong process.
So now talking about that, should we concentrate on exporting that's the raw crude, or should we work on really refining it and sending it out there?
There is no two way about refining. When you refine, you add value. When you add value to what you produce, you get refined. For instance, you have materials that could go into fertilizer production. We are first and foremost an agriculture nation, then a gas nation. So sitting down on exporting crude is not in our best interest, because it means we would also have to import fertilizer, we would have to import a lot of other things. But the way around it should be to step up on our refining. And like I would always say, it doesn't have to be mega refineries if maintenance and timeline will be issues. Over a period of 150 to 200 days, you can build a standard modular refineries that will treat as much as 25 to 50 billion per thousand barrels per day. If you can do 25 to 50,000 barrels per day, you would actually realize that the combined capacity becomes equal to the mega refineries. And because they are even disconnected, they are in separate locations, it makes maintenance more easy. Modular refineries are modular, as their name says, so which means you can do an easy part replacement without a long-term shutdown.
Okay, thank you for that insight, Mr. Agunloye. Viewers, you're still on Business Focus, and we are discussing the situation of oil market globally. Do stay tuned. We're going to a short break. We'll be right back. That break, we are joined now with Malam Yusha Aliu, an economist, to go further on the situation of oil globally. Welcome, Malam Yusha Aliu. Good morning and welcome to Business Focus.
Thank you and Happy New Year once again.
Happy New Year. This is the first time we're having you in the studio.
Yes,
welcome back, sir. So we're talking about the global oil market as of today. With the situation at the Red Sea, a lot of cargo ships have actually suspended voyages through that route. What's your assessment of the situation as at this point?
The assessment is very discouraging as far as global oil market is concerned and global trading. You know that that route is very essential to economic growth of the entire world, based on many reasons, including it's a route at which some of the oil and gas that is taken into larger economies of the Western market is going through, and at the same time, some of the equipment that is required for our agricultural and industrial development in part of Africa is also the route. So having that in question, it telling a lot on prices of oil globally, and also it is telling more on people's purchasing power in respect to what inflation will bring to the situation, which is going to affect global trading adversely.
Okay, Malamisha Ali, we talked about the possibility of if the cargo ships, that's all those going through the Red Sea, if they have that problem that they would not be able to move any oil at all, what could be alternate sources, and could this be the right time to actually channel into green energy? We have been saying with Mount, is this the right time?
It's not a right time.
Okay.
It's not a right time at all for especially Africa, because we need the technology, we need the investment to have green energy. But however, within African context, we have entered into an agreement, Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which involves trading within African states. So we need to build capacity. In building capacity, we need to have a very sound technology that can make a breakthrough for most of the economy. Look at Nigeria, for instance. What is the daily requirement of PMS that is refined? What is the daily requirement of electricity to be generated? And what is the type of investment that is required? And what is the capacity of our financial institution to give these incentives to intending investors? So in the larger context, that the green energy, no matter, we have our gas, we have our oil. The only thing is to have the capacity to produce it and to regenerate, and at the same time also to bring better opportunities for most of the economies in Africa by removing the landing cost issue. Landing cost, even if we intend to, whatever we are importing into African economy, we are paying heavy prices because of the distance covered.
Sure.
So this war has affected the most cheapest route so far. And Maersk, the largest voyage in the world, is suspending its business. And
also,
if that particular company is suspending business in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of our energy development, in terms of our agriculture, in fact, the whole space of human life. Not only that, the dangers is not only preventing those required goods into African continent, but it's also causing and creating different psychological scenario as far as distortion of businesses is concerned. Remember the Houthis, who have initiated to begin to attack voyages that is connected with either United States in an attempt to touch the economic interests of the United States, so as they can win their wars in the battlefield in Yemen and in the battlefield with Hamas.
Okay. So now, Mr. Aguloye, with inflation rate going higher per day, per month, it just keeps going up. What do we expect in coming months?
Well, with the incoming months, what are the factors driving our inflation rate? Exchange rate,
okay,
operational inefficiencies,
okay,
and wastages.
okay.
What is in place to control the exchange rate as of today? Nothing. Are we ready to combat the operational inefficiencies? No. Have we put effort in place to cover our wastages? The answer is also what? No. So inflation may continue for some time. However, if we start now, in the nearest future, maybe, like I said, when you come to modular refinery, you're looking at 150 to 200 days for you to complete a project. Which means if we say today we are looking at investing in 20 modular refineries, put them across the nation. That reduces the haulage and the delivery timeline, right? Sure. If you do that, maybe in another 6 months, some of them will begin to flow. And so you know that a refinery in Gombe can service part of the Northeast. So whether supply comes from Lagos, nobody will be telling us story of River Niger is overflowing its boundaries. But until those efforts are in place, we won't go anywhere. When you say energy, right, why do we have so much imports? Because local production is down. Why is local production down? The energy sector is not helping the producer. Somebody selling pure water, producing pure water right now, need an average of 200 to 500,000 naira weekly to buy diesel, and need another 80 to 120,000 to buy petrol for distribution. for the truck that will distribute weekly. How do you go about that? But you will realize that if we sanitize why is the energy sector so bad? Inefficiency. Estimated billing, as far as I'm concerned, is paying for darkness, right? So we are paying for darkness. On the other hand, also there is energy theft. People who are not metered do use the power, and then they negotiate and pay whatsoever they can. So in the end, some people pay for darkness, some people steal the energy. And of course, there is the third level of inefficiency, which for me is the highest. And that is that we are fetching from our well and we are pouring to the ocean of the discos. How? You buy your pole, you buy your cable, you buy the transformer, they come to install, it becomes their property. No, there should be a responsibility drive in that regard. If I buy, disco should pay back, because they are the one who will collect the money from further people who will connect to the same system. They don't need my permission. It's actually because their property the day I pay. So in the energy sector, there are issues. For me also, yes, Oga was saying maybe it's not the time to go green. But for me, I think it is the time to go. Forget what cost it is. If we need to import the solar panel until we can reactivate our centers for excellence in Madam Fodio and Obafemi Awolowo University, we should import. But if the time comes and we can begin to produce locally, we have the population to consume. So for me, I think that power, we should concentrate on off-grid. People who are not yet on the grid, don't bother put them on the grid in the interim. Let them stand isolated. Give them the solar panel. Where we can run wind, let us run wind. Our hydros, we have water.
Sure.
Those who can be on hydro, put them on hydro. Rather than everybody waiting until a disco is commissioned. If, as a matter of fact, you can put a whole village on off-grid, it is now the duty of the disco to convince the people why they should come to the grid. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I have something that I'm using and it's working for me. But you now want to add to it, is it not?
Sure.
Then you have to convince me the service levels. You will define the efficiencies, right, that I'm going to gain if I subscribe to you. So until we address the energy, roads will continue to remain bad.
Sure. Because
the carrying capacity of the roads are not up to what they do. If you like, fix Okene Benin Raushi Road. Wait for another 6 months. The number of trucks on that road is just not it. So we need to work on the rail line. You need to do everything you can to decongest the road. If you decongest the heavy trucks on the road, the trucks will still be needed. If there is a refinery in Suleja serving Abuja, Niger, and Kaduna, trucks will still deliver. Only that they move from Suleja to Niger to Kaduna, so they don't have to go and sleep on Lokoja Bridge.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Agoloy. Madam Yusha Aliu, talking about inefficiency in our energy sector, how can we leverage all we have on ground to actually build and have a very good energy sector in the country?
To have a good energy sector, you need to have investment, both in financial and material resources. Energy is transforming worldwide. Recently, on 1st of January, Mr. President highlighted that he is having an intention of bringing the seamen to augment the inefficiencies that we have. What brought about efficiency is seamen, investment, research, and also commitment. So sometimes if you are leveraging on policies, especially in the third world or emerging economies, you have to choose cost-effective potentials.
Right.
Cost-effective potentials presently is that if we are to go into green energy, it's safer, but it's very expensive, and it requires high technology, and also to maintain capacity. If you are traveling along Abuja Kaduna Road, you will see iron companies that have decided to go into green energy, but it cannot cope. They cannot cope because the amount of energy required for such industry requires a very heavy technological grid to service the industry. And also, meanwhile, if you check the development in the world, you realize that the Chinese have gone beyond green energy. They are going under waters, high sea waves to generate electricity. These are the innovations that is coming up to the world.
We have our hydro.
We have our hydro, but the inefficiencies in hydro is not that we are not generating, but we cannot even distribute. These are the challenges. Look at what transpired in 2021 when we have enough grid to be distributed, but because of inefficiency, we cannot distribute. We opted for exporting it to other countries that are our neighbors because we don't have the capacity. So when you speak on inefficiency, inefficiency is all around. There are inefficiencies by these companies. There are inefficiencies by government. There are also inefficiencies from the consumers. Look at what Mr. Ben has cited. It is true that some people are under-metered while others are stealing. So if you are stealing energy, you are stealing somebody's profit, you are stealing somebody's investment, and how can that be efficient? It is only when you recognize that I am consuming 10 units of electricity at so-so cost, and I am paying for it. As a consumer, you are efficient. But the function of those companies also is to make sure that they don't collect a payment that is not due for them. You did not supply electricity, and you are taking money for the supplies. This is corruption. And probably these are the things that continue to sustain these inefficiencies that we are talking about. But if we are to, as a nation, to grow more than what we have today, we have to understand that we have potentials in every research centers, energy research centers. He cited Sokoto. I graduated from Sokoto. I am aware that most of the villages surrounding Nuntaye village are being supplied with solar panels, and they are efficient, and it is efficient for them, and they can have light to conduct normal business. But high industrialization require high grid electricity, which can sustain over a period of time. Let me give you an instance of an economy that is not as big as Nigeria economy, the Saudi Arabian economy, that are supplying the green, the hydro, or generating up to about 83,000 megawatts. But what is the production in Nigeria? The two mosques, the Saudi, the Mecca, that is the Kaaba, and the Medina, the two holy mosques, their total energy supplies is 2,770 daily. So if they are for mosques,
that's more than 50% of what we have as a nation.
And this is a nation that you have over 200 million people. You have over 800,000 SMEs operating at different capacity. Even if you take welder as an enemy, as a medium-scale enterprise, welding, you realize that they are all conducting their businesses using generators that are not produced here. And this is what is taking our foreign reserve, that our exchange rate is taking it out for no reason. If we can generate electricity, we off the consumption of this kind of gadget, and then we substitute that investment into green. For green to be efficient, we start rural economy. We can power them with green. Where this high tension grid cannot reach, we can go and institute so that people can keep their businesses where they are, and at the same time assist the urban economies with their production so that prices can be changing.
Okay, so Mr. Agulaye, with the issue on the Red Sea, how do you see the Saudi moving on? How do you see the Saudi performing? That's how would the whole of the world, the globe, get its oil?
Well, the whole of the globe will get its oil. Saudi can be the biggest manufacturer. They are producer of crude, but yet they are not the only producer. And then we need to also realize that there are nations that are not even in OPEC that produces crude.
Okay.
The truth also is that there are black markets. Russia has got a lot of crude to sell. No doubt about that. So, to a large extent, by careful planning, by existing mayors and by stability, Saudi will survive the period. They will live on their savings. They will live on... Saudi is expanding to different things. At the moment, they are possibly not relying on oil. In the last 1 year, Saudi has spent the highest in football.
Okay.
Importing players from across the world. Such investment has a direct effect also on tourism, has a direct effect on accommodation, has a lot of things. More balls are coming, more jerseys are coming. Whether they are produced inside or they come in from outside, the nation will continue to end.
Okay.
So as an economy, they will have to respond to fix the choke, which is what they've been building for over time. Saudi is not 100% reliant on oil, right? They have other areas, and they have made effort to correctly ensure that those other areas are coming up.
Okay, Mr.
So
Agundayo.
definitely they will survive. Then if I may just chip in something in the area of green energy,
Okay.
like I said, we are a nation that is not efficient. Okay. A lot of organizations also get into investment without having done their proper research and due diligence. For instance, if I'm going to run a cool room and I want to run on solar, I don't need to put in an AC converter. You need to get, there are DC compressors that will take the solar energy directly. It doesn't require the high power that is coming from grid. But before you do that, you will already have agreed. This is what we need to do.
That
so
is,
you
make
get
proper
all your
research.
proper planning. And so when you are installing equipment, you are installing DC motors, not AC motors.
Thank
and
you
that
for that,
way,
Mr.
you
Agundayo.
will do what you need to do right. And another area I think we need to mention clearly, green energy is safe for Nigeria. That's number one. Going electric is the place for us to be. We've got the highest amount of lithium deposit in Africa.
Okay.
Just like we had at the beginning of oil, just like we have in the days of palm oil.
Okay.
So right now, we should be pioneering battery production because the biggest item is lithium that we have across the Middle Belt states.
Okay, thank you
The
for
North
that,
Central
Mr.
states, I mean.
Agundayo. Thank you for that. Malamisha Aliyo, quickly, how would Nigeria fare? How would you say Nigeria should go on looking at the situation at the Red Sea?
The situation at the Red Sea is not going to affect Nigeria much because we have an economy that is the biggest in Africa.
Okay.
But the only thing is that we have to be more consistent in our policies, and we have to be more committed in designing better policies that will reduce high prices and establish stability in the economy. One fundamental issue is that if we have the capacity to refine product up to 650,000 megawatt by Dangote alone, and that is pumped into the economy, and we now put the Port Harcourt and Kaduna and Warri into function, definitely our domestic need will be taken care of. Okay. And we can now have liquidity in our exchange rate. This is supposed to be the immediate for this economy, because the entire price changes is attributed to removal of petroleum PMS subsidy and also the inefficiency of our energy. The second aspect is that Saudi Arabia is a good partner. I am happy that Mr. President was in Saudi Arabia for them to make an intervention in our refining capacity. But one thing that I want Nigeria to take advantage in this refining capacity is that we need to copy a lot from how they manage their efficiency. Aramco is the biggest oil company, is producing 11 million liters of PMS daily. Okay. So in Nigeria with Dangote and Kaduna, Port Harcourt, we cannot produce up to 1.5 million. So okay. The capacity that is existing in Saudi Arabia, we need to copy it here. And also seamen that are coming with energy. Just like Mr. Ben is attributing, whatever intervention they are giving, it should not be one direction. There should be green energy and normal energy requirement for electricity. putting hand in hand and taking our priorities to the right places.
Thank you, Malimisha Aliyu. Thank you both for coming into Business Focus. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Viewers, that's all we can take on Business Focus. We had a long hard look at the global oil market, the situation at the Red Sea. On behalf of Maria Aduzakari, myself, and the production team, do have yourselves a wonderful week ahead. Bye-bye.